We are about to embark on an immersive journey through the corridors of our minds. Stand by as we prepare for departure.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to the Productivity with Peace of Mind podcast adventure. Our journey will begin in just a moment. Inhale deeply and exhale. Our voyage takes us on a captivating tour, diving deep into the intricate layers of our thoughts and imagination. Brace yourselves for the complexities of our evolution. For a safe and enjoyable journey, stay seated, secure your helmet and protective goggles, and keep hands, feet, and legs inside while the ride is moving. Now relax and enjoy.
What if I told you that we're all kind of like this magnet and we are drawn to exactly what it is we need? And that is what helps us be productive far more than the inner critic that lives in our brain that we think keeps us productive and on top of everything by like cramming our way through and forcing our way to achieve something or move through a to-do list, which we'll learn about a new way to call that and a new way to approach that in this episode, and that it can be so much easier than it is and that we thought it could be. So without further ado, let's go to the conversation. Today we have with us Sue Erhart, founder of Practical Spirituality, which is a community and platform dedicated to accessible and grounded inner work for all of us. She's the author of a 28-day guidebook that blends daily essays with practical takeaways to transform our mindset and unlock that love that we have for ourselves. She's a former high achieving perfectionist who discovered that letting go of the inner critic doesn't actually lead to laziness, but actually created more success for her. So, welcome, Sue. We are so excited you're here today.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm delighted to be here.
So, I want to talk about, that journey that you had going from that inner critic to finding your own clarity. What did that look like, or how did you even get there?
Well, it was a journey that I can see more clearly in hindsight than I saw at the time. But it was a journey where early in my career, I thought my highest best use was to anticipate what other people needed from me and to deliver it. In fact, that made me wildly successful. I'm a lawyer by training, and so keeping my client and my employer happy was something that I prided myself on. But what I also found is that I spent early in my career an inordinate amount of time, what I would call rehearsing and replaying. So, if I was getting ready for an important conversation or a meeting or a presentation, I found myself rehearsing a lot, trying to imagine what somebody else was going to say, trying to
Mm,
anticipate what was going to happen or what could go wrong, trying
yeah.
to trying to think about how a project could go sideways and how I could avoid it. Lots of rehearsing. And then, after the event happened, I spent a lot of time in my mind replaying. Oh, how did this go? How did this land with that person? So lots of mental energy rehearsing and replaying. And I noticed that a lot of other people didn't do that. A lot of other people walked through life with a confidence that I really wanted to have as well. And I really think that it was seeing that that gave me the impetus to go on a personal journey to break down these habits of rehearsing and replaying. And what I found, Lindsay, is that when you go on a personal journey like this, you are met by your soul, by your spirit. You are led perfectly to where you need to go. And you find out that listening to your soul and to your inner wisdom is the key to success in life and with all of your outer goals.
Absolutely. Well, and I think when you take that journey yourself and then you start helping other people go on that journey, you're able to teach it so much better because you yourself have lived it and you understand the challenge of getting there.
Yes, I describe myself to everyone I work with as a fellow traveler. I'm here, I'm doing this, I'm doing the work, I'm learning the method, the lessons, and as soon as I learn a lesson, I'm trying to pitch it back to somebody else. In
Mm.
fact, I often see myself as writing for my former self. I think about when I was on my journey, what words of wisdom would have been helpful to me. And those are the things that I lean into when I write. And so, in so many ways, I feel like I'm sending letters to my former self and saying, here's the way through, girl. You got this.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. And is that what you do in the 28-day um journey book?
Yeah. So in my book, Lose Your Critic for Good, I lay out for the reader 28 separate essays. And yes, Lindsay, in so many ways, these are love letters to me when I was in the thick of perfectionism, of rehearsing, and of replaying. And when I was in the thick of a belief that criticism was necessary to accomplish big goals. That was my limiting belief that was blocking me because I was scared to give up criticism and perfectionism because I thought I would end up a lazy sloth sitting on the couch doing nothing. And
Mm.
it's just the opposite. So I lay out a 28-day program where you read an essay and then I give you a specific exercise to do to help you break down this habit of criticism so that your inner spirit, your inner desires, your true natural motivation can pop out and start leading your life. And when you walk through these exercises over time and redo them and stay with them, I guarantee you, your soul shines through. And when your soul shines through, you start working with, I call natural motivation. And natural motivation is awesome.
That's a really interesting concept, like natural motivation, because I feel like a lot of times it doesn't feel natural. It feels like forced and like we're just hoping for it to show up, or we're trying to like, will our way through, which really isn't what you're talking about.
No, I think many of us have habits, and I think our culture, Lindsay, reinforces these that say, you need to work against your energy. You need to like muscle down and push your energy down and do this thing. And and yes, that is a path. Yes, that I mean again, we can all see it. It is a path. But if you truly want to move into what I call super productivity, if you
Mhm.
truly want to move into work that is massively satisfying and feels good to you, you need to break the habit of forcing yourself to do, and you need to start developing the habit of listening to where your inner energy is taking you. Because when you work with your energy, man, the stuff you can do and create is fabulous. But so many of us, starting at young ages, were taught to force that down, to sit in a desk, to sit still, to work on things at certain times. Literally, we have conditioned out of children how to listen to their own souls.
Mm. Yeah, so how do we do that? Like, how do we start to do that if that's something we've maybe been out
Yeah.
of?
Mhm. Well, I have lots and lots of tools. And just like our abundant universe, Lindsay, there are a million different ways that you can reach this inner wisdom and this inner. But I'm an analytical person. As I told you, I'm a lawyer by training. And so I like to give people really, really clear guidance. And so the first thing I would say is that people really need to sit with this idea that forcing yourself to do something against your energy makes you good, disciplined, or better than someone else. And we've got to let that go. We truly have to break that down and say, not true. Again, it is a way to move from point A to point B, but it is not a joyous path. And I'll just keep it practical here. We've all been in situations where we're doing something and we are having so much fun and enjoying ourselves so much that we work for hours without taking a break, where the
Mhm.
time flies, where we're working and like we just feel like, here's another idea, here's another idea. And it could be anything, okay? You could be painting a bedroom and feeling that way. All right. So it pops up in areas of our life, and many of us fear that. And we've got to break down those fears and say, no, that's where you're supposed to be. That's your natural motivation coming forward. And you need to get into a habit of coaxing forward that natural motivation. And the more you do it, it's like this snowball effect where it comes forward more and more. And I'll use myself as an example. Lindsay, when I'm working or writing, I can sit and write for 4 and 5 hours continuously, and it is joyous. Okay. It is, I am laughing, I'm smiling. Like sometimes I literally even step back and say, this is so awesome. I can't believe I get to do this. That's natural motivation. And when you find that in your life, and I truly believe all of us have this, we each have this unique soul signature, but when you find it, it is like unleashing a jetpack for your day.
Mm, that's so cool. And it's seems like it's a really cool way to actually like truly love yourself too.
Oh, self-love is the foundation. And I would say so many of us are not loving ourselves when we're saying, next Tuesday at 10 o'clock, I'm going to sit at my desk and do this work. Well, again, if that feels great to you, but next Tuesday at 10 o'clock, I don't know how I'm going to feel. I don't know where my energy is going to be. I don't know what my highest use for that moment's going to be. I think we all need to stop listening to these people who want us to live rigid Stepford lives and start listening to our own selves and saying, I know what's best for me. I know where my power is, and we need to kind of step into that. But I can tell you, as I was someone for years who was focused, driven, did what was expected of me, met everybody else's desires, and then wondered why I was exhausted every single day. And
Yeah.
I was exhausted because I was leaving my spirit out of my life.
Mm. See, it's so interesting because you're right. There's so many people who do train in that way of like you put it on the calendar, you time block it. I even talk about time blocking, right? And then you go and show up and do it for yourself. But you're so right that there's that nuance of like, actually, that doesn't always work and it doesn't mean anything bad about you.
It doesn't. And I would say, there's nothing wrong with time blocking. Again, it's effective, but get to the block and say, what feels good to me? Where's my energy pulling me? Where's my intuition taking me? What do I feel inspired to do? Because what
Yeah.
happens, Lindsay, if you make it a habit to ignore your natural motivation, to
Mm,
ignore your excitement, to ignore your desires, they will go dormant.
yeah.
They will take a back seat, and you will sit there and you will get a free Saturday with nothing to do, and you will say, I'm a barren wasteland of once. I got nothing I want to do. I'm not excited about anything. And you'll feel down and low of spirit. And all that's happened is that you have made it a habit to cut off your natural motivation, and you need to coax it back forward, which is what I walk through in the book. You dismantle this self-critic, and your natural spirit shines through.
That's beautiful. Well, yeah, and like on this show particularly like productivity with peace of mind, like that with peace of mind part is so important because of exactly that. Like if it doesn't feel good and it's not fueling you to your point, what's what's even the purpose?
And I can tell you, when I try to force myself to do something against my energy, it's clunky. It's not very inspirational. It doesn't feel, there's so much about it. But when I work with my natural energy, my creations are beautiful. even I'll just take something as simple as cooking. I love to cook. And when I'm really in the energy of feeling like I want to cook, I'm excited to cook, the food's delicious. And when I'm in the energy of must get dinner on the table and trudging, it's not delicious. I mean,
Yeah.
so there's even just that feedback. And we as a culture have beat this out of so many people. And I just want to live on a planet where more of us are working with our natural motivation.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that sounds absolutely amazing. And like what we would create just all being on that wavelength.
And isn't it fun when I mean, when I'm around somebody that I sense is in this energy, and it doesn't matter what their job is. I mean, we've all encountered people like this. They're like lit up from within. They could be sweeping the floor of your workplace, but they're lit up from within. And you're like, I want that. I want some of that.
Yeah.
And I think the work for each of us in life is to unwind the limiting and mistaken beliefs and habits that we picked up till now, and then develop positive and uplifting habits to carry us through the rest of our lives.
Yeah. And I know part of that like breaking down process is the inner critic, and that's a big part of what you work on and teach. How do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I see the critic, is what I call it, uh, as a habit of thought. And the
Mm.
critic shows up in lots of different ways. So let me just first start there. So the first most obvious is that you're critical of yourself or others. You're the kind of person who immediately sees what's wrong or what's off, okay? So you're just a critical person, or you come back from dinner out and instead of saying, well, this tasted good, this went right, or this went, you say, they screwed this up, they did this. Okay, again, you just gravitate towards criticism. That's the first most obvious, and it's very harmful to yourself. But there are other ways the critic shows up. Some people have a critic who tells them to settle, to say, you
Mm.
can't go for that big thing, so just settle for this. Be happy and be content. Some of us have a critic who tells us to prioritize others in our life ahead of ourselves. And those are all different ways that the critic shows up, but all of them are blocks to your inner light shining. And that's how I literally visualize it, Lindsay, is that there are these different ideas and habits that we have that block us or keep us small or keep us shrunk or keep us tight and tethered to one place. And once we break down some of those ideas, your inner soul, your light just starts shining and taking over and leading your life. And you start moving towards what you desire, what you want, what you're interested in, and what you're curious about. Those are the language of the soul.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, and you've mentioned that the kind of that spirituality piece a few times, and I'd love to hear more about that too, as just like how does that show up in our day-to-day life?
So I'm a believer that I'm an eternal being made in love and I've got a higher power who's guiding me. That's my faith. But you don't have to have any of that faith to do all of the work that I teach. In fact, what I say to most people is that the first thing that you need to learn to believe in is yourself. You
Mhm.
can't believe in anything in the spiritual realm unless and until you develop a belief in yourself. And that's what this work is about. This work is about learning to trust yourself.
Yeah.
This work is about going within and saying, I know what's best for me. I'm the lead of this life. I'm the
Mhm.
only person in this body. I'm the
Yeah.
only person who can say how this feels. And really, like, kind of like going within and taking that ownership, which I see as a power reclamation, taking that power and making it your own. So, um, practical spirituality is what I write about, but what I want everyone to know is that to me, spirituality is about useful tools to better your life. And if you can wrap your head around that, there are amazing tools that will help you live a life of joy.
I know for me, historically the word like spirituality has been tricky, right? And I know a lot of people can relate to that because it comes down to like what does it mean, right? It can be perceived in so many ways. And what I absolutely love about how you describe it and also how you describe how you get there is starting with connection and belief in yourself, which I think is so beautiful.
Yes. So all of us, Lindsay, have limiting beliefs and mistaken ideas. I mean, if I say the word religion, it conjures up ideas for
Yep.
each of us. If I
Yep.
say the word God, I mean, it has ideas. So set it all aside, okay? Because the reality is you get to decide for yourself what those mean. But here's just one thing that I have found. Simply deciding to believe that your spirit, an eternal spirit that's going to live on, and Lindsay, obviously, I don't know that that's true, but deciding to see yourself that way sets you up for success in life. It
Mm,
it massively helps you. So I see it as an entirely selfish action to see myself as spirit, to see myself as loved, to see myself as guided, to see all of those things. I mean, it is an act of selfishness that helps my life. But I will tell you, Lindsay, I have a personal experience of being helped, guided, and led through this life in beautiful, beautiful ways. But I would even say to someone who is a total non-believer, you know what, for your own benefit, act like it because it helps your life. It really does. And spirituality is just full of these tools that you can implement and live a better life.
yeah, that's really cool. Like, do you have any examples of those or how that would show up?
Sure. So this is what I teach. Okay. I teach people these tools and I have hundreds and hundreds of tools. And if you really want to start following along, I have a free weekly newsletter. You can go to my website. You get an essay every Sunday morning where I share with you tools to better your life. That's what it's called. Practical Spirituality Tools to Better Your Life. So you can get all of that. But let me talk for all of your listeners just about one. And it's one that I teach in my book called Lose Your Critic for Good. And I wish I could get everyone doing this. So
Mhm.
many, many people I know, particularly those of us who are high achieving perfectionists, rule our life with to-do lists. We might even start our day and write out these two, three, five things that we must do this day, and then we work our day according to that list. And I can tell you, because I used to be one of these people, that we put on those lists things we do not want to do. Because the fact is, Lindsay, I don't forget to do things I want to do. I don't have to
Mhm.
write it down on a list and schedule time for it. I just do those things.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first and foremost, that to do list is a list of activities you don't want to do for whatever reason, and you're letting it rule your life. Many of us, and I used to be one of these people, get to the end of our days and determine our self-worth based on whether or not we completed the things on the list or whether we did something hard. I mean, we literally tie our worthiness to this list. So I
Mhm.
coach people to get rid of the list and instead do this. First, get yourself a new notebook, turn to the front page, and say, "This is my log book. Here I will record the good, the wonderful, and the done." And then you write the date and you begin. You can use bullets, you can use any style of logging that you prefer, but you log what you did and how you felt when you did it. And
Mm.
you capture every good moment and you celebrate everything wonderful in your day. Now, if you keep up with this, Lindsay, it is powerful in so many ways. First, you begin to retrain your brain to look for the good, the wonderful, and the done. And I am a person who believes that what you give your attention to grows in your life. So you create a habit of looking for the good, the wonderful, and the done, and they become really, really big in your life. The second thing it does is it teaches you to start looking at what you're doing and what you're feeling. And what I personally prefer is I like to do things that make me feel powerful, competent, confident, happy, excited. Okay, again, and so many of us are totally unaware of the things that make us feel that way, or we downplay them. And they are huge information. If I sit and send and work on an email for an hour and I feel great, I mean, that's wonderful knowledge. Let's delve into that. Let's understand what makes Sue Erhart tick and why she got so excited working on that email. So that's the second thing it does. The third thing it does, it becomes the record of a life well lived. And I love to get to the end of my day and to peruse my logbook and see all the things I accomplished in the day and celebrate it. And it makes me super productive. It makes me super positive and it helps me know myself. So it's just a beautiful tool that you could start using right now. Now, the question I get every time I teach somebody to use a logbook is like, well, what do I do with my tasks? Okay, because we all have them, right? We all have the things.
Yeah.
So this is my personal technique of how I manage the tasks. And actually, my task list is sitting over here. Um, so when I have something, and I'm going to call it that I think I have to do, because that's often what tasks are, I first title the list could do.
Mm.
I reinforce that no list is in charge of me. No list is the boss of me. No list is telling me my worth. This is a list of things I could do if I personally choose to do them. So that's number one. I title it could do. Then I put on there those tasks. We all have them. I got to pay my taxes. I got to schedule my dental appointment. I got to get the car in for the repair. Whatever it is, it's on the list. I'm not excited about these tasks. Okay. They're not naturally working their way into my day. And so I've got them there. But next to that task, I write the words I want. And then I say, what do I want? So if I've got a task on there that says
Mm.
schedule dentist, I want clean and healthy teeth. So I'm anchoring it back to me. Okay. It's not in charge of me. I've got a desire. I've got a want. That's why I'm allowing this task to live in my life. And I make it a point that I do not work from this list. I work from my energy. I work from my calendar. I work from what's right in front of me. And then when I hit free pockets of time, I grab that list and I look at it. And Lindsay, I've done this for decades now. I can tell you that your eyes will naturally land on something on that list that's ready for you to do.
Wow.
And you'll do it, and you'll do it easier, particularly if you're anchored to a want. So that's just one of the tools. I teach lots of tools around procrastination and its value to your life. I teach lots and lots of practical tools if you check out my website. But that's just one, and that's a way that you could start today repatterning your mind, habitualizing your thinking to better support your life.
Yeah, the shift from a to-do list to a could-do list. Oof, that I actually wrote that down while you were talking because I it really hit home for me because the first part of what you were talking about, I had the same question of like, okay, but like if we're high achievers and we have lots of balls in the air and lots going on, like how do we then, if we're just recording it afterwards, how do we then go in intentionally to make sure that things don't get missed that are important?
So, what I'd also push on is the things that are on your, let's call it to-do list, whatever it is. Again, it's something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I'd take a hard look at that and say, is this something that is truly necessary? Many of us engage in very limited thinking about the tasks that we assign to ourselves. And so I would challenge and say, is this required of me? Is this a task I could farm out? Is this a task that someone else would actually have joy in doing this work? Is this truly the only path to get to where I want to go? I mean, for instance, if I was starting up a new business, I might put on there a task that says create a website. Well, do you really need a website to have a business? Is that true? And again, I think all of us need to challenge this conformist thinking that we're all engaging in and saying, well, this is the way that this has to be done, and we all just follow along. So I would say if you've got something on your to-do list that you're procrastinating, I would say, well, one reason could be is that your soul and your spirit is saying that's not necessary for where you want to go.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I love it. Well, another concept I want to touch on too, which kind of relates to that, is like all of what you're sharing is like letting it be easy, right? So like letting it be simple, not overcomplicating it as we so much want to do for some reason.
Yes. And I think so much of the traditional goals community is based on a big giant misunderstanding. And let me explain what I mean. If you watched me, Lindsay, for a day, and you would see that I spend 2 hours cooking dinner and enjoy it and do it and how I do all of those things, you might say, well, I have a desire for a delicious dinner, so therefore I must need to do the same steps that she's doing. I
Mhm.
must need to schedule 2 hours to cook dinner. I must need. So again, you're looking at my actions and saying, look at how productive she is. Look at what she's doing. Look at all these things. But what you're completely missing is that my internal motivation is there. And you cannot fake internal motivation. You just can't.
Yeah.
And so many of us are looking at someone else and we want to do what they're doing. But what we're really seeking is our own internal motivation. And so, what I would tell you is that internal motivation is the relationship between you and you. And
Mm,
so, you've got to sit and get to know you, and you've got to learn how to recognize internal motivation and how to ride internal motivation. And so many of us have cut ourselves off because we're like, nope, I'm going to force myself to go to the gym. I am
yeah.
going to, and truly, every single time you take an action where you are forcing, engaging in self-denial, or going against your energy, it is like you are putting up a bar that jails your spirit in.
Mm, wow. Yeah, it's just like profound. It's simple, yet it's so profound. Just to be able to know that like that much changes whether we're in or out of alignment.
Yes. I think it's pretty much the entire point of life. Now, I mean, again, we can go in and out of alignment throughout your day. And sometimes I even think that there's a reason for it. Like I go out of alignment and then I experience the sweetness and the joy of going into alignment. And so it's all the more fun and exhilarating to allow my natural desires to come forward and that motivation to carry me. It's like super exciting because I did something out of alignment. So I'm not here to say like, okay, you can't ever be, but if you're sitting in life and saying, I feel stuck, I feel like I don't know myself or I don't know what I want, I don't have hopes and dreams, I would say you probably have a critic and you need to break it down.
Mm, absolutely. So whoever's listening, if they're not sure where to start, it makes sense, it resonates. What would you say is the one thing that you would want them to go do right away after the episode, or consider, or
Mhm.
think about, or remember? What would be that kind of one thing that you want to leave them with?
Mm. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you two. So, first is head over to my website. I have so many resources and follow your intuition. If a blog post catches your attention, click on it and read it. Your intuition will guide you to what you need in every moment of every day if only you allow it. And your intuition speaks, again, I'll say it in the words of I love, I want, I'm interested in, or I'm curious about. So if you're feeling any of those emotions, follow them. That's your intuition saying there is something here for you to learn. So head over to my website. But here's the thing. I would say I am a believer in the power of intentions. And so I would sit and really get clear and say, I'm ready to get in touch with my authentic spirit. And I intend to allow this spirit to guide me forward in this journey. And in fact, I'm anticipating a fabulous journey with my spirit, and I can't wait for it to begin. And I would get very, very intentional about that. And Lindsay, I use intentions all through my life. And when you get clear like that, life rises to meet you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for just it. What comes to mind as you're talking is like we're like this magnet, and you're showing us how to harness that power of the magnet within us.
I would say, yes, we are all this bundle of energy that calls to you exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And when you allow your desires to unleash and to come forward, it brings to you everything you need. It's just fabulous. It's just, I don't know. I am passionate because I lived for so long with my nose to the grindstone. Like I said, thinking that I was a good rule follower for doing what people expected, but then wondering why I was kind of like half satisfied. I wasn't unhappy. Okay. I was never unhappy but I
Okay.
but I was rarely joyous.
Mm,
And now I'm joyous.
mm. And there's a difference. And thank you so much for showing us that.
There is what I would say is I think that there are levels upon levels upon levels of more and more positive emotions. And you experience as much as you're willing to let in.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, this has been such a gift, Sue. Thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom, for your presence, for your energy. We're so grateful for you.
Same to you, Lindsay, for all you're doing as well.
Thank you for braving the inside of your mind with me. The better we understand ourselves, the more deeply we understand the world, and as our awareness grows, life just gets better and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a review and share this with anyone else you think could benefit from listening. A quick reminder that the content shared in this podcast is for informational purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, and the discussions here are not a substitute for professional advice. If you're dealing with a specific issue or need personalized guidance, please consult with a qualified professional. Your well-being is important, and this podcast is simply a platform for sharing insights and experiences. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Until next time.